Howdy, y'alls. Welcome back. It's me, Dr. Edwards. This time here to help you out with milestone number 2. Before I get into the specifics of that, I just want to kind of make sure that you all are keeping track of the overall final project. So let me bring up that rubric here, and let me kind of point out what we're addressing in milestone 2. Scroll on down here to section 3, culture. All right, this is this right in here, if I can highlight it, there. That's the section we're working on for milestone 2. Okay, just to kind of let you understand where this fits into the greater scheme of things. Okay, so let me bring up, let's see here, close you out, bring up milestone 2, all right? And here we are, okay? Yeah, so we've already in milestone 1, you identified your film, you identified your 3 core concepts. This time we're focusing in on culture, all right? And you're going to need to be describing the 2 cultures or subcultures, all right, that are represented in your film. And the way to do this is to give a little synopsis of it, for lack of a better word. You know, you want to include a little description of your culture or subcultures. And remember that a subculture is just a smaller group within a larger group, okay, that have some shared common language, values, norms, and think of it this way, they're like infinite subcultures, right? They're everywhere. So it really kind of depends on how you argue it. You might be talking about a larger societal culture and then groups within that. Yeah. And you're going to be wanting, the key thing here is you're going to be highlighting what are the shared norms and value, right, within that group, be it a subculture or a culture. And you might want to go back and review Module 2, which is where we kind of define culture and the key components to it, that it's shared, it's not innate, that there are certain things that are common or common held values among members. It's transmitted, things like that. Yeah, so you're going to describe your two groups. You're going to then start outlining the cultural norms and values that you see for each group, okay, and provide examples of them. Now, what I tend to suggest is you don't want to write a full page describing a whole scene or anything like that. Think of it as like a paragraph, okay? That would be a good way to describe some cultural norms and values, and that would be a paragraph or 2 for each group. Okay. Then you want to do some comparison. Now I stress here, comparison, you have to remove any judgment. Comparison is simply, oh, they do it that way and they do it this way. It doesn't say their way is better or anything like that, right? Keep any value-laden statements or judgments out of it. We're aiming for just descriptive, what is different between the two. And then you're going to use that, and you're actually going to describe a scene where you see a cultural difference that exists between characters or groups, and you're going to explain how that cultural difference affected their interaction. Essentially, you want to try to put yourself in their shoes and understand it from their perspective. And then you also want to have an outside perspective. Think of, you're the fly on the wall, and you get to explain, oh, well, they reacted this way because of blah, 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 and these others just didn't understand it because of blah, 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 blah. See what I'm saying? Yeah. And then, of course, you always have to maintain your cultural relativism, all right? This is something that we look throughout all of your work. It is a fundamental requirement of the course, right? So I always suggest, take time to include some clear statements of cultural relativism, right? Use the term. Point out, by using our cultural relativism, this, allows us to avoid ethnocentric tendencies or something to that effect, right? Or you might use it with a specific example that you're talking about in your film. Now, keep in mind, this milestone is 2 to 3 pages, right? That would be, 2 pages would be hard to get all this in. I'd be expecting more on the 3 page level. But, sometimes you can write really concise, so that's cool too. Yeah, make sure to have the rubric in hand, all right? And you can see here these critical elements. These are the things that I'm going to be looking for, right? And I want you all to be aiming for proficient here. Make sure to proof your work. I highly recommend the free downloadable software Grammarly. It's great for staying on top of your writing. Make sure you're spelling things correctly. All right, it's good like that. And make sure that you got this in hand. That you're looking at this when you are drafting those sections, right? And again, I would suggest you might have to draft it a couple of times before you get it to a point that you're ready to submit it. Don't forget there's the Online Writing Center. They can help proof work if you have difficulty structuring things, anything to do with writing. They are a go-to source. Another good strategy is if you have somebody, a friend or a family member that is just another set of eyes that can read over your writing, that's always a good strategy as well. So, really looking forward to to your all's milestones too. I was wondering here if I can give you some examples to maybe help you all out here. So I've described before subcultures versus cultures. I used to belong to a unique subculture, the tattooing subculture. I paid my way through my undergrad slinging ink, right? And some of the key things that you see in a subculture are, you have these shared common things. For example, we had a unique language, right? Rather than call them tattoos, we called it ink. Okay, we had different types of names or different ways of categorizing tattoos. We had things that we called trinket tats, right? Often got by young college students, right? Often when they were inebriated. Sports or being a member of a sports team is another good example of being in a subculture. You share clothing. You have a certain attire that you wear that identifies you as a member of this team. And you'll probably have special sports lingo that you use within that. And you'll have shared common values and norms within that particular group. You want to be able to apply these to what you see in your film. Okay? Cultural norms and values. Well, I'll use myself as an example. I'm a bit of an oddball. I grew up with having, a biologist for a dad and a psychologist for a mother. And go figure, I become an environmental anthropologist. Environment, biology, psychology, mind, put them together, right? And as a result, I have a lot, through my acculturation process, I have certain cultural norms and values that I share not just with my family, but with other folks. You could think of if you use different scales. The smaller the scale, it's going to be a smaller group. The larger the scale, you'll see that you're connected to a larger group. Let's see here. I already explained kind of cultural comparisons. Let me give you a good one. Something really stark and dramatic. I was born in the West. I was born in Kansas, of all places, very flat. And when I was 10, I moved to Switzerland. And it was not flat. It was, there, good and steep. And I went from living in a college town to living in a small Swiss village of about 500 people. And there were more cows than people in my village. So really clear that, Western society versus a rural Swiss village society, okay? Where I was born and raised, most people worked at the university or in some way of support to it. And there was a local economy as well, but the university dominated. and the Swiss village, it was agricultural. People grew crops and had cows. Um, excuse me. You know, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just noting there are clear differences. Where I grew up as a kid, you know, you didn't get to go travel alone on your own. Um, in Switzerland, when I was 11 years old, I could get on a train from my village and go all the way to Geneva, right? Spend the entire day there with my friends, and then come all the way back home on the train, right? Really different norms and values. And where I was as a kid in Kansas, nah, that would never happen. You would never let your kid get on a train and like go to Kansas City or something like that. No, right? But in Switzerland, that was normal. That was accepted. That was considered okay. Right. So remember to kind of put your keep your cultural relativism in effect when you're thinking about these things. Yeah, I think that's where I'll leave this. I think I've given you lots of good little insights here. Yeah. Of course, if you have any questions, concerns, anything at all, don't you hesitate to get a hold of me, all right? I'm here to help with anything you need. Cool. Take care, y'alls. Bye.